There's lots of random ass comic book characters that come out at least every month, and some of them have really cool designs, interesting stories, but they just don't stick. And that sucks, but what are you gonna do? People just don't have the interest in them. And then on the other side, you do have characters that are new, that do stick, that do become beloved, but sometimes I look at them and I'm like, hey, this has so much untapped potential. Why isn't anybody tapping it? Well, this is exactly what I feel when I look at the son of Kal-El and Jonathan Kent, the Superman, and how he has untapped potential. No, Garcia, this is Comic Kick, and here's the title card. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for watching the last video. I didn't expect it to do well. I had a couple more ideas for videos that I wanted to talk about just because I enjoy talking about comics and editing them, editing videos and stuff. So thank you guys for watching the other one. I don't know if this one will get the same response, but I enjoy making them. So here we are. Another sad, a desperate attempt by a chubby nerd on the internet making videos. Here we are. Anyways, before we talk about my issues with Jonathan Kent and what he's been up to lately, we need to establish a baseline. Let's dive our little toes into the idea of Jonathan Kent. This character is a relatively new one, coming on the edge of DC Rebirth, as the universe folds in on itself and new characters are refreshed, histories are restored. And during this time, the Superman that we knew died. However, a brand new Superman family came in: Clark, Lois, and their son Jonathan Kent. They soon found out that he had powers. He started going around as the new Superboy, and things were very cute. People were enjoying Kid John. Now, here's where things get a little bit messy, because I keep talking about this kid, but all the images right now are him as like an old teen. So what's up with that? Let's dive into what happened there. Now, throughout the existence of the character, the idea that John could be more powerful than his father has been played with. The fact that his Kryptonian genealogy combined with human may create some cocktail that can make him like uber powerful. So all this drama begins actually with the Teen Titans. So basically this evil version of Robin, Tim Drake Robin, comes back from the future, an alternate future, and says, hey, I gotta kill John, he's full of nonsense, cataclysm, blah blah blah. They try to kill him, things don't work out, but the event turns out fine. But the whole point is that John is kind of shaken by this. Okay, now stay with me, because I'm gonna boil this down to its minute point so we can process this together. So Mr. Oz, who is Superman's alternate time displaced father, shows up, and he wanted to take John through a trip to educate him about the universe. And Lois and Clark don't like that, but John says, hey, I'm feeling very insecure about this, and I think this trip would really help me. But that was the worst mistake of his life. Okay, because during an accident, John's ship fell into a black hole, and John crashed into Earth 3, where there's a bunch of evil Justice Leagues. He's taken prisoner by Ultraman and imprisoned in a volcano for years. He manages to escape and gets back to original Earth, but because of that, it had only been maybe 3 weeks since he left, and for him, it was been years, tortured by Ultraman, years of mental suffering. He has PTSD, he's fucked up, it's crazy. And not only that, it's crazy for the parents too, because a couple weeks ago, you let your kid go off with his grandpa, and now he's come back and he's close to the drinking limit, and you're like, what the fuck, space alternate dad? Superman Clark Kent had to go into space to do some John Carter shit, so Jonathan Kent took over very briefly as the son of Kal-El. He had his own little Superman book, and I thought it was pretty average. I enjoyed it. It was a fun ride. Now, this story and this run wasn't intentionally made to tackle the difficulties that Jonathan went through. This was mainly made to kind of set up his own network of friends and allies, his first early adventures as Superman, and how he deals with these enemies that are now going after him. So now we're just going to jump to my actual issues that's currently going on with the Adventures of Superman, the current run that's happening with Jonathan Kent. The premise of this run is that John is going to come face to face with Ultraman, the man who tortured him for years, that made him feel the worst he's ever felt in his life. And that's an incredibly harrowing thing to tackle for this character. What would that even look like? What would the fight look like? What emotional things would go on? Would John be able to defeat his former captive? It's almost like a kidnapping victim meeting their kidnapping after a couple of years and having to fight them. Like, it's an insane thing. And there's layers on layers of mental trauma that could be worked through and looked through, and it's an interesting concept that I'm very excited about, because I feel like the first sort of run of his books was meant to cement him as a hero, and this one would possibly get into more his ideologies, his psychology, what makes John Kent John Kent. You okay, Daddy? You want to talk about John Kent? I want to talk about John Kent. She wants to talk about John Kent. So far, this book has visited the Injustice universe, a universe where the Joker tricks Superman into killing his wife, and Metropolis blows up. He becomes a dictator. Batman has a resistance. There's a couple games. There's some good comics. Basically, Ultraman's John fighting. Ultraman's quick on, I've been killing your dads all across the universe. You're nothing. You're pathetic. And then instantly, Ultraman neck snapped. And Injustice Superman shows up, and he's like, "Hey, you got your mom's eyes, kid. Like, oh my gosh, I saved you. You're welcome." And it just, oh, I really hope that Ultraman isn't dead, because honestly, if that's how he goes out, that really sucks, because I feel like John could have really had some peace. He could have really had some resolution with Ultra Superman. Like, they could have done a thing where they captured him, and he finally got to sit and talk to him, because I feel like there's definitely a lot of really interesting scenes that you could play out between John and Ultraman to kind of find out, Ultraman, why are you doing what you're doing? How am I going to get over this? What trauma is here? And you could have really delved deep into that, but the book doesn't really seem interested in doing that. And I'm not sure if this is either the creative team being unwilling or unsure if they should tackle these topics, or simply just having a different idea and direction of where they want to take the book and just going that way, which is fine. I just wish you had left Ultraman out of it. If you had made a whole story where it was an evil Superman going around killing other Supermen, and John was like, I'm gonna go stop him, then that's fine. But the fact that you involved Ultraman as this big thing, one of John's biggest antagonists of his entire life, and didn't yet have a scene of them confronting each other, it just feels really flat. I understand this seems like a lot, because there's not that many issues out. He could come back. It could be a twist. It could be, who knows? But it's just that first moment of seeing it just made me lose any excitement I had for this book, because it's like, oh, this is what happens? Really? The thing is, even if Ultraman does come back later in the book and he fixes his neck and he fights and he's so powerful, that first death just kind of made me unexcited for the book. It just made me a little hesitant to read on. Because while the interactions between John and the Injustice universe are kind of interesting, I'm just not interested in that. It's like seeing something really cool at the store and you're like, that's nice, but I'm not going to buy that. That's not for me. And it's just not for me. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, that's my, it's not beef, it's concern. We'll call it concern. That's my concern with the current adventures of Jonathan Kent. What do you guys think? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think I'm a dumbass and do you love what's going on right now, or do you kind of agree with me? Put it down in the comments. Again, thank you guys for watching. Goodbye. Dottie, the video's over. You want to fight?